Hello.
Welcome back.
I'm Nicole.
And I'm Megan.
And you're listening to the Synchronicity Podcast.
And we are the Synchronicity Sisters. We change your brain to change your life. Essentially, if you are suffering or in a lot of pain, we change the programming. I think the majority of people are suffering or in pain and they don't understand really what's wrong. And so they seek antidepressants and things like that, which we are not shaming. It's just that there may be a different way and we might be able to help. We use microdosing, Carl Jung and Eric Berne versus Sigmund Freud's philosophies. And we also have a little bit of Eastern philosophy thrown in there with like Taoism and things. So we just do things a different way. We had a lot of problems trying to figure out how to do things differently. So this is kind of what we have thrown together through our mentors and our own healing process. So thank you for being here. We hope you find what?
We haven't thrown it together. We've collected it.
It's kind of like I just see it as like a pot and we just keep throwing things in.
Like a laundry basket.
Like stone
that's
soup.
Going in. That's not going in.
Pretty much. But thank you for being here. We appreciate every single one of you, new, old, OGs, all the people that have been here on this journey with us, as we are only here because of your guys' support. And we're talking about kind of a funny thing. It's called the incel movement. The world is a really crazy place right now. I mean, I think it always has been. It's just getting more and more obvious about how crazy it is. And so this movement has kind of popped up in the last, I don't even know, maybe 20 years, but it's gotten really big in the millennial generation, as 40% of the male population still lives with their parents and uses things like OnlyFans and porn instead of dating, which is wild. But I also understand it to a certain extent. So this is not about ew, gross, incels. It's more of actually, we know the psychology of why this has popped up. And unfortunately, it's kind of really sad, in my opinion, that 40% of the male population is celibate, but it's incel literally means involuntarily sexless. They can't find sexual partners. They can't find romantic partners. So they've basically just given up. And the thing about it is, if anybody knows Tucker Max, I loved his books. Assholes Finish First, and I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell were two of the books. The first book I read, actually, my senior year of high school, and it is fratire. It's super, super ridiculous. But I remember that's when I really started understanding men and the psychology of man versus the psychology of women. And I would actually say that Tucker Max is one of the reasons that I was never slutty, is because I remember him saying in his book, if you let a man come over, have sex with you, he's way more vulgar sayings, but I'm not going to go into those, and leave, that's on you. You're the woman, you're the feminine, you're the one that's saying yes or no. And that always kind of stuck with me, and I was like, oh, that's true. If we don't put boundaries down for a man, then he's going to treat us, anybody, and it's not even just a man, anybody's going to treat you the way that you let them. So, even though his books were fratire and just kind of vulgar, it's when I started to understand male psychology. And I was like, oh, men and women are not the same, because we're not taught how different we really are. Obviously, we know that our anatomy is different, but we never really understand the power of being a woman and the power of being the feminine, because we really are the guides. We are the ones that say no. We are the ones that have virtue by nature. Well, we're supposed to. And the thing is we are not virtuous by nature anymore. We actually act more like men than men do. Women are these really forceful, energetic energy that used to be masculine, and men are just wusses. So the incel movement is extreme wuss syndrome. They're collapsed masculine because they have no purpose or drive, because women are their purpose and their drive. And it's just getting really crazy. We should actually send Tucker Max an email and see if he'll be on our podcast, because I kind of would. He's one of the few people I would be excited to meet.
I mean, he's in what he's doing, especially with the children and stuff, is wild. He's super awake, but he was awake way before a lot of people were awake, because he was just
Like how he spent an entire semester in Cabo instead of in law school and still like graduated at the top of his class. He's also a baby genius. Well, he's not a baby anymore, but he's a genius.
Yeah.
His IQ is like 140. It's wild.
He's definitely an alpha man.
For sure.
So yeah, no, the incel movement is actually super fascinating to me because it's literally spelled INCEL, so involuntary, the first part cut off, and then celibacy. So, and I first heard about this, like, what was it, like 3 years ago? I think it came up. I'd heard the term before, but I didn't actually realize, like, how much woman hate is behind this movement.
You know, when I heard about it was actually Olivia Wilde calling Jordan Peterson an incel, which is funny because she actually used the term incorrectly because he's married and has children, so he's not an she called him the lord of the incels. And I was like, what the hell is an incel? And why is she calling Jordan Peterson that?
I forgot about that. So that was actually, like 3 years ago.
That's when I heard of it. It was 3 years ago, and that's when I first heard the term. And I was like, she actually used it incorrectly. But that's when I first heard about it, was when Olivia Wilde was using it derogatorily towards Jordan Peterson, which is not even using it. If you're going to use a word,
know the meaning.
Know the meaning, because you can't call a married man that has children an incel.
And like, he's been with his wife for like 48 years.
That's not accurate at all. Well, and if you like look at Jordan Peterson's videos and like, he's very obviously not an incel.
No.
He's very into, I actually was watching a video on him.
He's very masculine.
The other day, and he was talking about like how, you know, men shirking away from responsibility is making them little boys. Men should actually step into responsibility because responsibility is masculine. It's vas pressin based. Like, you should want responsibility because it raises your testosterone and your vas pressin. But to shirk away from responsibility, which we're seeing men do, is actually extraordinarily feminine. He did an entire video on it, and I agree with his sentiment and, of course, his psychology, because he's far more adept at psychology than I am. But yeah, it was quite interesting. And I'm like, oh, wow, we are seeing that in men. Men don't want to commit. And I actually understand why they don't want to commit to women. I wouldn't particularly want to some of the things that I see in the feminine. There's a lot of amazing women out there, but the majority of like women that are having sex with a different man and don't even know their last names and, you know, have no virtue or self-love, I wouldn't want to commit to that either.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is that the incel movement is literally the psychology of economics, but based on a sex level, like supply and demand, right? And so when we have super hot men that are 8, 9, 10 on the like, and yes, I am totally judging people because this is actually how humans work. It is in the subconscious based on how symmetrical you are, how much testosterone you have, like all of this. So if you're an 8, 9, or 10, you should be sleeping with an 8, 9, or 10, and that's what you marry. But the thing that's happening is that these 8, 9, and 10 men are fucking everything from 10 to 0. Not really zeros. I wouldn't say zeros. But, like, they're going from 10 to, what, 3s? I've never really seen a 2 or a 1 woman.
Well, yeah, because it's better than your hand, essentially.
Yeah. A 0 is your hand.
Oh, my God.
But, so it's supply and demand. So, you know, 10s used to sleep with, or 8s used to sleep with 8, 9s, and 10s. 7s, you know, 7, 6, 5s, 5, 4, 3s, right? And there used to be this like hierarchy of sex. And now everyone is just sleeping with everyone. And so women that are down in the 3s that should be sleeping with like 3, 4s, and 5s are now sleeping with 10s. So they're not sleeping in their range anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So the demand is so high. And men are so oversexed that these 3s, 4s, and 5s that once used to get sex within their own pecking order, their own economical system, are not getting sex anymore. So they're becoming incels. And so now it's becoming detrimental to the masculine because the feminine is just, it's a free-for-all. And then it's so flipped backwards, upside down. And
It's encouraging narcissism,
yeah,
is essentially what it's doing, because it's not confident to be like a 7 and be like, I'm a 10. That's not true confidence. That's false confidence. So if you're sitting there saying that you're a 10 and you're one of the most beautiful women in the world and you're 350 pounds and you're not symmetrical, like, that's not confidence. Confidence is like, yeah, I'm a 7. Like that's true confidence. It's like, just own what you are. Don't try to like, and it's, again, it's all based off of symmetry, which is a lot of like what the energy was in the uterus while, was it calm? Did you develop correctly? Like all of these things, and again, like being a 10 has its own psychology. Those women are usually absolutely fucking crazy because they've been absolutely objectified the rest of their life. I would say that the most psychologically sound women are like 6, 7s, and 8s. If you get up past that, you're in a very dangerous, and it goes back to like, if anybody's ever seen the crazy hot matrix, like it's
true.
There's some of that is kind of, it's not completely accurate, but like some of it's accurate. Women that have just been because they're also punished for their beauty. So when they, when they reject men get very, very, very angry and then want to get back at them. It's not, they never go through amicable breakups and things like that. So we have turned the psychology of like, you're all so beautiful and blah, which is true. But like beauty, just because you're not a 10 doesn't mean you're not beautiful. Just because you're not, gonna marry Brad Pitt, which like how many of us are, and even then he turned out to be abusive. So, because think about Angelina Jolie, she is legitimately one of the most beautiful women in the world.
She's a 10.
And yes, and look at the devastation that has followed through her life versus, I don't know, like somebody that's a little bit less attractive, but has had a marriage and successful love their whole life. Rich men and beautiful women are some of the most unhappy people on the planet because they're objects. They're not even humans anymore. We dehumanize people that live at an extreme. So it's just, the confidence to me is just owning who you are. It's not in being something that you're not. And the thing is like, even in hookup culture with like men sleeping around, the danger of that is the fact that men have to lower their standards in order to have sex with a lot of women. So these men that like are like, oh, I've had sex with a lot of women. I'm like, yeah, but you've lowered your standards and you have literally fucked up the entire dating pool of what Nicole was just saying of like, if you're a 10 and you're sleeping with a 3, like that's not even fair. You're not playing fair. That's like poaching. It's not actually hunting. Because that's not even it's not even a true hunt for you when you're that much more attractive than somebody else. They're not playing fair. Like I said, poaching is not playing fair. You're killing something that's technically illegal, right? If you don't know what that means. But it's, so just like men, I harp on women a lot for hookup culture, but just so you know, if you're part of hookup culture, you're fucking down. You're not fucking what you could have. You're not building testosterone and vasopressin. You're literally...
You're part of the problem, too.
You're part of the problem, and it's crazy, right? Because women can fuck up, right? We can sleep with whoever we want. Men, they sleep with who they have an opportunity to sleep with. Even though you guys commit to who you want, you sleep with who you can. And the majority of, women today don't have any standards for the most part. Like, it's actually crazy to me, which means they have no self-love. And then, like, you just perpetuate it by having sex with women that have no self-esteem, no worth. Like, what does that say about you? So when we say hookup culture, like, I also believe that men need to learn virtue, because when you flip sex on its head and you're the one that's saying no to sex unless you really care about the woman, you're also doing yourself a service. Mm-hmm. This whole like free love craziness on both sides is wild to me. The longer that you are truly dedicated to your own healing journey, which includes celibacy, because you're just sleeping with a lot of different people and you're letting their energy into you, you're not healing. You are so jacked. You're a sex addict, most likely, which I think sex addiction is a huge problem in today's world. Instead of using alcohol and drugs, you're just using somebody else to check out and to keep from feeling your feelings. But when people really heal, I always know that they're on a healing journey when they say like, oh, I haven't had sex in time, or, I'm this, because that they're pulling their energy within and really moving into a healing place, and they're not sharing their bodies with somebody that hasn't earned the right to be in their energy into that level, right? These people that don't vet anybody and don't have a price tag. And by price tag, I mean like energetic exchange, or I need to be in a relationship. That's what I mean by price tag, not an actual physical price. But, you know, I have more, and I say this all the time, I have more respect for prostitutes than I do for women that are going out to a bar and having a one night stand constantly. Like, at least prostitutes have a price. Like, our women today are fucking for free, and they're so broken, and their femininity is so drained. And, you know, I just really want people to start to understand, like, what they're using to check out of their life, because it's causing the incel movement. You know, we are oxygen, we are love, and we are failing the masculine by not being in our feminine and not, you know, driving society to higher consciousness, because we are consciousness, not the masculine, the feminine. Mm-hmm. And so it's unfortunate, and I actually fight this all the time, that women have more responsibility than men when it comes to sex and saying no and guiding energy. We can't just like for them, they can't just not provide and expect to have a wife unless their wife is so far in her masculine that, you know, she has other issues. But, you know, it's just, we have greater energy on the ethereal plane, so we have greater responsibility to life in general, children, men, everything. There would be nothing without women. We could survive without men, well, for a short period of time, right, because we couldn't reproduce, but they can't live without us. Can't live without oxygen. You can live without money, you can live without a lot of things, but you can't live without your breath. And just remembering that, you know, women are breath.
Yeah, I mean, we run everything and we guide everything, and you know, both parties are responsible for watching this incel movement happen, but you're also not taking responsibility for your other fellow humans. Like, people are suffering. Like, incels are just suffering.
Well, they hate women for a reason. I mean,
yeah.
it's like, it's because there's no femininity. They have nothing.
They have nothing.
They have nothing to work for.
Yeah.
Like, they just go, what's the point? I'm just going to, like, masturbate and play video games and eat a lot of fast food.
Most likely, yes. Yes. That's probably very true fact.
For sure.
If you are listening to us on YouTube, like, subscribe, share, Apple and Spotify, comment, like. Definitely rate the show. It definitely helps us. And if you have any comments, concerns, you have a request for a topic, please send us a DM at synchronicity_sisters on Instagram. Did I get everything?
You got everything.
All right. Till next time. Bye.